Paul, 2 years in a row, we could have an all Big Ten national championship. I say that because Washington Pac-12
Right.
last year, now a member of the Big Ten in Michigan. That wouldn't be a good look for the conference that you cover. That throughout the year, throughout the year, they're talking about very boisterous about the schedule and the record and the every Saturday we do more, our schedules are tougher. And then for 2 years in a row, you may not have a team playing for a national championship.
No, I think you have to go back 20 years to go 2 straight years where an SEC team was not playing for the national championship. And I mean, I realize we went 2 years without it, the SEC winning it in 13 and 14, and that was shocking enough.
Yeah.
Uh, Matt, I I'm I'm just not sure how to respond to you there because uh, the one thing that the SEC does better than anyone else is boast. Even better than the winning streaks and the
Yeah.
championship, and the fact that so many people are enjoying this too is even more remarkable. I'm mildly bemused by the whole thing.
I've been critical of the Big Ten. I've said that that's a top heavy league and that everything past team four is not
Yeah,
good. But even I have to look at that and say, well, wait a second now. Penn State, was their road in the bracket favorable? Sure. They'll get to show it against Notre Dame. Ohio State looked like mediocre against Michigan. Now they're just beating the hell out of people. It's almost time for college football pundits, fans, and whoever to maybe the Big Ten is on to something because they've done it the last 2 years.
yeah. I mean, I think if you look at the SEC objectively, there isn't that just standalone perfect team. There's a lot of good teams, but
Yes.
but, but Matt, those good teams have had flunker days. So I mean, when you and that was really hard part. I mean, Ole Miss is the only one that even showed a pulse in the postseason, but they were playing an undermanned Duke, so I don't think you can read a whole lot into that. But I just think it's inherent with the SEC. And Matt, I know my position. I know what I've done. But you have to look at yourself in the mirror sometimes and say, you know what, this may not be a very good year. And I'll get pushback saying, well, you can't say that until Texas is out of it. Well, you can say that. Alabama was a huge disappointment. LSU was way off the charts. Georgia was below average for them. I mean, that's how good Georgia has been, is
Yeah.
that they seemed average and they made it to the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. But every single SEC team has flaws. And the idea that Ole Miss could lose to Kentucky, Alabama could lose three double digit favored games. It's hard to comprehend, and we have never seen it before. But you now know why a year ago next week Nick Saban bailed out,
Yeah.
because he not only had the best team, he had the best second team, and I mean it's been said many times, but it's worth repeating that. I mean, he had he had future number one draft choices on the reserve team. That's how. I mean, he was deep. He was so deep it was ridiculous. Nobody's that deep anymore.
No, and it's a good segue into the Alabama conversation because as we know on selection day, South Carolina, they wanted in, they lose to Illinois, and Illinois is now a 10-win team, Big Ten. Uh, Alabama, they were steadfast that they should have been in, and then they go and get beat by Michigan for a second year in a row. Some of the 6-6 teams that we were being told are better 6-6 teams than everybody else, they're losing in bowl games. And it's you have to, what have we said a lot? Like there's nothing better than people who are confident in their ability, but you got to back it up. And bowl season, I get it. There's opt-outs, just that and the other. But it has in Alabama just how they've ended the last two seasons, especially in year one of Kalen DeBoer. What's in store for him now?
I believe very, very firmly that Kalen DeBoer is on a scorching hot seat. Now, you can say, what does that mean? I'll tell you what I think it means. It means that he is under a microscope. It was playoff or bust this year, and he went bust. And the only chance to scrape all that away was to win a bowl game against a lousy team. which Michigan was all but really one game this season, and he
Yeah.
couldn't do it. And the way they lost, it was just horrifying to watch. And so I mean the goodwill. I mean, the goodwill went out the window so quickly for him this year. And he's already making a few changes on his staff. The fans are calling our show. I mean, they are just up in arms about the lack of offensive production. They're
Mm-hmm.
also glad Jalen Milroe's gone, but that's not really the question anymore. He wasn't coming back because he doesn't need to come back. But Kalen DeBoer needs to be very careful because if he doesn't make it to the playoffs next year, uh, the target on his back is going to be immense. And Matt, it's almost impossible to calculate where he will be because it depends on the flow of the schedule. But right now, he is very unpopular. And I'm talking about real fans. I'm not talking about the
Mm-hmm.
do-gooders that
Right.
that masquerade. Uh, and I was in Alabama 2 weeks ago. Actually, it was last week for Christmas, and I had people stop me on the street saying, like, what's with this guy? I mean, they don't even mention his name. I mean, he's like, what's with this guy in Alabama? It's gotten to be that bad.
Yeah. And when he comes in after what he did with Michael Penix at Washington, and it almost seemed like Jalen Milroe regressed. He had the huge game against Georgia, and then you just never knew which one you were getting every week.
Well, because they really had no offensive philosophy. And I'm sure what Kalen DeBoer is good at did not equate with what Jalen Milroe was good at. But hey, you're the head coach. If you don't think he can be the quarterback, get rid of him. And the thing that bugs people about DeBoer is it's just his attitude. I mean, he talks, like a high school coach at a private academy. He doesn't resonate with the Alabama folks who, you've been there many times, Matt. I mean,
Mm.
they're hardcore, and they know football, and they're used to great football. I mean, they've had the two greatest football coaches in history on that campus.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, and now they go into a season. I just think it's unfathomable to think we expanded the playoff by 8 teams and Alabama wasn't one of them. And then they go and lose their bowl game to Michigan.